The topic of this video is crossing the plasma membrane. This is a crucial process because molecules like oxygen gas and carbon dioxide need to be able to get into and out of cells. That allows for respiration to occur. Water also needs to be able to cross the cell membranes to keep our blood pressure at the right level. So we maintain our normal blood pressure partly through water molecules crossing the plasma membrane. For our neurons to fire, sodium and potassium must enter and leave cells, often against, or especially against, their concentration gradient. Passive transport is when molecules are moved from one compartment to another without any energy provided by the cell. So remember that molecules are always moving. So simple diffusion means that molecules tend to move to a region where they are less concentrated. This is called going down a concentration gradient. In biology, we are usually concerned with the movement of molecules across a cell membrane, such as the plasma membrane that surrounds the cell, or a membrane that surrounds an organelle. For example, oxygen gas is a small enough molecule that it can move directly across a phospholipid bilayer. So which direction do you think oxygen would move in this case, as illustrated in this slide? Take a look at where the concentration is greater and where it's lesser. Have you made your guess? Okay, here we go. Oxygen would move down into the cell, so towards the intracellular space, in this case, since that's where the lower concentration of oxygen is. Facilitated diffusion occurs when molecules are either too big or they're charged. There may be charged ions, and so they can't cross a phospholipid bilayer directly. They have to be helped by a protein. So if those molecules are helped by the protein to go down their concentration gradient, it's called diffusion, and it still requires no cellular energy. It just requires a protein, like this protein right here, which has a channel built into it, a hollow space built into it, so that molecules, or in this case, potassium ions, could move in or out of the cell through that channel. So, looking at this diagram, in which direction do you think potassium would move if it was going down its concentration gradient? There's a little bit of a trick here. So look at the diagram carefully and then tell me how potassium ions, those are the K+ ions, would move if they were going down their concentration gradient. Okay, are you ready? Here's our answer. In this diagram, potassium would move upwards because the higher concentration is below the membrane. So they would move through the channel like this to reach equilibrium. Okay, osmosis is specifically the diffusion of water molecules across a cell membrane. So water molecules, like all molecules, are constantly moving, but their movement is restricted if they are bound to solute molecules. So let's take a look at the original U-tube here. We've got two sides of a tube separated by a little membrane, a semi-permeable membrane. So water can cross this membrane, but solutes cannot. That's key. These are the purple solute. These purple molecules are representing solute molecules, and if we look at them close up in this square here, you can see that the solute molecules have attracted a lot of water molecules. These are these small red and white molecules, H2O. And this is some solute, maybe it's salt, or maybe it's glucose, or some small protein. but it's a solute molecule because it's dissolved in water. And you can see that those solute molecules here have attracted a lot of water molecules to them, so that even if the number of water molecules is the same on this side versus this side, there are fewer free ones on this side than there are on this side. So I have a question for you, which is, see if you can explain why the right side of this U-tube is higher than the left at the end of this process. So take a second to write that down, explain it to your housemate, whatever you need to do. Why, put it in your own words, why would the right side of this U-tube be higher than the left side after this process has gone all the way through? Okay, hopefully you've had enough time to jot down a brief answer. Here's the answer I gave, so if your answer is anything like this, you're in good shape. Because there were more free water molecules able to move on the left side here, more water crossed over to the right than the other way around. So water would be traveling in both directions, but the net flow would be towards the right in this case. And so that's why water has raised itself up, even against pressure, has gone to the right side of the tube over here. And that would only happen if this membrane does not allow these solute molecules to cross. That's a key part of this, that the water can cross, but the solute molecules cannot. Okay, related to osmosis is this topic of osmotic pressure. This is the measure of the tendency of a solution to draw water into it. So which side of this U-tube started with higher osmotic pressure? Okay, you guessed it, the right side, because there were more solutes, so they had more of a tendency to draw water towards them. This is what osmosis looks like with when red blood cells are involved. So these are 3 beakers with highly enlarged red blood cells inside of them, and this one on the left is the normal red blood cell appearance, a sort of a donut-y kind of appearance with a flattened interior. These cells have swollen because water has entered, and these cells have shrunk because water has left, as these arrows show you. So which beaker has red blood cells in it, where those red blood cells were in a solution that had more solutes than the cells had inside them? Okay, you guessed it, hopefully, the beaker on the right, this one here. Water left the cell towards the surrounding saltier solution. And that's the end of this video. Our next video will have information on active transport, where cellular energy is required to pump solutes against their gradient.